With the Odyssey coming soon, it is worth reflecting. What is Christopher Nolan really trying to say through his films, and what are the main themes he is concerned about? People usually say Nolan is obsessed with time. And yes, it is everywhere in his work. But Nolan is not only interested in time. He is interested in reality. From the beginning, he has shown a deep love for cinema as an experience. He takes ordinary human situations, a father and daughter, a man grieving his wife, or a man seeing a fallen community, and turns them into something massive, cinematic, almost mythological experiences. That is why he loves IMAX, practical effects, huge soundtracks, and physical scale. For Nolan, making cinema is not just entertainment, but an event. A dark room, a projection of light, and an illusion placed before our eyes. And in that sense, Nolan's cinema is always thinking about cinema itself. In Inception, Cobb is almost an image of the filmmaker, someone who enters the mind and plants an idea in the audience. Around him, every member of the team resembles someone from a film crew. The architect builds the world, the forger performs a role, the producer organizes the mission, the dream becomes a movie, and the audience becomes the dreamer. The same thing happens in The Prestige. A magic trick is built in 3 parts: the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. You show something ordinary, you transform it, and then you bring it back with new meaning. That is exactly what cinema does. It takes ordinary reality and makes us see it again. But Nolan is not interested in empty illusion. His best films ask a harder question: how do we know what is real? In Memento, the main character builds a false reality for himself because he cannot live with the truth. In Inception, Cobb creates a dream version of his wife because he cannot accept her death. In The Prestige, Borden and Angier live behind masks until their identities become fragmented. Again and again, Nolan returns to the same point: if you refuse reality, you lose yourself. That is why practical effects matter so much for him. He wants the audience to feel that something real happened before the camera. The explosion, the plane, the city, the physical object, all of it matters. Because behind the spectacle, reality must be faced, not invented, escaped, or replaced by a dream. And this connects to another major Nolan theme: moral responsibility. His characters are constantly placed before difficult choices. In The Dark Knight, the Joker creates moral chaos and forces people to ask whether survival justifies the forced passing of others. In Oppenheimer, scientific knowledge becomes a burden because discovery can destroy the world. In Insomnia, guilt becomes so heavy that the character literally cannot rest. In Interstellar, Cooper has to choose sacrifice, love, and mission when the future of humanity seems impossible. In other words, Nolan loves dilemmas where there is no easy answer. But even when institutions fail, and they often fail in his films, the individual still matters. Batman rises because Gotham is corrupt, even the police, politicians, and judges. Oppenheimer is also punished by institutions, and Cooper acts because humanity needs someone to risk everything. The protagonist in Tenet begins as a man being moved by others, but by the end he assumes his own role in the story. For Nolan, one person can matter, because everyone has an individual mission, and one person can become the symbol that inspires others. That is why his films are often about human strength under pressure. The world may be collapsing. Time may be running out. Institutions may be corrupt. Science may become dangerous. But the human being is still capable of action, sacrifice, courage, and responsibility. At the same time, Nolan is also fascinated by science. In The Prestige, science makes the impossible real. In Interstellar, physics becomes the path toward survival. In Tenet, knowledge of entropy becomes a weapon. In Oppenheimer, scientific discovery becomes almost apocalyptic. He clearly believes in the greatness of human knowledge, but he also knows that knowledge can become dangerous when it is separated from wisdom. Science can save, but it can also destroy. And this brings us to Nolan's deeper vision of the human spirit. His films are always asking, not only in time and space, But as a species and race, as human persons, where are we going? Interstellar may be the clearest example. Cooper is not just traveling through space. He is carrying the old human desire to explore, to go beyond, to preserve life, to carry memory into the future. For Nolan, humanity is not meant to remain passive. We are pioneers. We explore. We build. We risk, but we most do so as revolutionaries, and the Russian spies in Tenet, trying to destroy our ancestors. We should remember the past and move toward the future. But here comes the most important question, and maybe the question the Odyssey will force Nolan to face more directly: is the human being enough? In Interstellar, the film suggests that future humans built the path for Cooper. But could there be something beyond man? Something divine? Nolan often seems to circle around that question without fully answering it. His cinema believes in transcendent human action, sacrifice, science, memory, and love. But does it believe in grace? Does it believe in God? Does it believe that man needs something beyond himself? That may be the great tension in Nolan's worldview. He shows us the grandeur of the human spirit. But he also shows its limits. And maybe that is why the Odyssey is such an interesting next step. Because now Nolan is entering a story of gods, destiny, homecoming, suffering, temptation, and the long journey back to where man truly belongs. So the real question is not just whether Nolan can film mythology, but if his cinema, so marked by science, realism, and human will, can finally open itself more clearly to transcendence, or treat it as something that has yet to be explained by human reason. Because in the end, Nolan's films are not only about time. They are about reality, and the deepest reality may be the one that man cannot create, control, or fully explain, but to surrender, embrace, and love. Do you agree? Please tell us in the comments, and I see you in the next video.